This video is for homework and mastery 1.4, multiplying whole numbers. Multiplication can be thought of as repeated addition. Look at the stars here. You have 3 rows of 4 objects. 4 stars plus 4 stars plus 4 stars. You have a total of 12 stars. You can also look at it as 3 rows of 4, so 3 times 4 gives you 12. 3 times 4 equaling 12. 12 is your product. 3 and 4 are both factors of this 12. We again will look at ways of using symbols and keywords for expressing multiplication, translating English phrases into symbols, or vice versa. Words that represent multiplication are things such as product, times, double, twice, and triple. Notice under the translation into symbols, there's not a symbol in between anything. It is 2, open parentheses, 3. That does mean 2 times 3. I don't want to use an x here for multiplication because x means something totally different in these cases. So at this point you do want to stop using x for your multiplication. You can use a star or just put them next to each other. If you have a letter next to a variable, or if you have a number next to a parentheses, those mean multiplication. If there's no symbol in between it, it does mean to multiply. So the product of 2 and 3 means 2 times 3. The product of x and y means x times y. 6 times a number, 6 times x. I could have used n here. Double a number. Double means 2 times that number because I want twice as much. Hence the next example, twice a number. That is also 2 times x. Triple a number. Triple is equivalent to 3. So 3 times x. Let's look at these 2 examples. Translate using numbers and symbols. The product of 6 and a number. 4 times a number. The product of 6 and a number is 6x. 4 times a number is 4y. Again, in either one of those cases, I could have used any variable. I chose x and y. Sometimes your directions will tell you what variable to use. Please make sure that you pay attention to your directions. Commutative. Multiplication is commutative, meaning I can change the order of how I multiply 2 items. A times B is the same thing as B times A. Does not matter what order I multiply things in, it will give me the same thing. I can also use the associative property with multiplication. Therefore, on the left-hand side, I have A times B in parentheses times C. I can rewrite that with A and then B times C in the parentheses, and I will get the exact same answer either way. Let's look at an example. Here I have 6 times 3 times 6 times 5. I normally don't like to do long multiplication like this, so I want to take certain things one at a time. First thing I want to do is I want to move things around where it makes it a little bit easier. I'm going to group the 2 6's together using commutative and associative, and I'm going to group the 3 and the 5 together. This just makes it a little bit easier. I could have done it the way it is written and multiplied 2 and the 6 times 3, 6 times 5, and gotten the exact same answer. It's however you want to do it. But in this case, 6 times 6 will give me 36, and 3 times 5 will give me 15. Then I do my result. 36 times 15 is 540. Let's look at another example. 2 times 3 times n times 7. I've got the n thrown in there. Let's look at a way to deal with the n. Well, one way is to look at the 2 times 3 and then look at the n times 7. Well, 2 times 3 is 6. Now I have this n times 7. I can use the commutative property and change it to 6 times 7 times n. All I've done is commuted these two. Then I can use the associative property and group the 6 and 7 together. Now then, 6 times 7 is 42 times my n, and this will be my final answer. Now I want to multiply a single-digit number times a 4-digit number. I'm going to take 2,312 times 3. Whenever I'm doing this, I just want to take the 3 here and multiply it by each one of the digits in the other number. For example, 3 times 2 is 6, 3 times 1 is 3, 3 times 3 is 9, 3 times 2 is 6, resulting in 6,936. Let's look at what happens whenever we multiply by several digits. Take 1,268 times 38. This one's a little bit different. We want to think of the 38 as 3 tens, 30, and 8 ones, 8. The first thing I want to do is multiply the 1268 by 8. So that's 8 times 8, which would be 64. Remember to carry your numbers. So I would carry a 6. 4 times 8 is 48, plus the 6 that I had carried would be 54. 8 times 2 is 16, plus the 5 gives me 21. Carry the 2. 8 times 1 is 8, plus the 2 gives me a 10. I'm not finished yet. Now, I want to multiply each number by the 30. Basically what it's doing is bringing down a 0 in this first digit, and then multiplying a 3 by each number. When I do that, I get 38040. Finally, I add my two partial products, and my result is 48,184. In this example, Jessica drove an average speed of 60 miles per hour for 7 hours. Per hour means each hour, meaning each hour she drove 60 miles. So how far did she drive? Well, 60 miles for 7 hours. That's the same thing as 60 times 7, which is 420. Therefore, she drove 420 miles in 7 hours. Now, I know this was very short. You may want to look at the other videos or other examples if you're still having trouble with multiplication. Let me say this is a section where you will not be able to use a calculator. You do need to know how to do multiplication on your own. There are multiplication charts. You really need to know your basic multiplication. Try multiplication tables if you need to. If you need a multiplication table to practice, we do have those. Also, make flashcards if you need to. Try to get those multiplication tables memorized. Again, if you have questions, please feel free to ask any one of us.